Hello, everyone. Welcome to July. It is July 7th today. It is a Tuesday. We are at the top of the month, in the middle of summer, and also the second half of 2020. So it's getting started. My name's Kelly Baltzell, and I'm the CEO and owner of Beyond Indigo Pets. Today we have a really interesting topic, Acclamation. And we have Jerry Shevick, the CEO and founder of Acclamation. And he's going to enlighten us on what it is, how he got started, and what it means for a pet owner as well as a veterinarian. Welcome, Jerry.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome. So first of all, tell us about you, and then tell us about Acclamation.
Okay. Well, it's a long story, so I'll make it brief. I'm an ex-TV executive who stumbled upon this technology after I left the company I had founded, and thought that it was just an amazing technology and something that sort of takes us beyond just collecting cans and bottles, as far as environmental responsibility. And so, I talked to my family, we rolled the dice and opened up Peaceful Pets Acclamation. That's about 7 years ago now.
Very cool. Which leads to the whole conversation of what is Acclamation?
Well, it's a fairly simple process, actually. Now, it's been around it was actually invented about 100 years ago. The actual process is called alkaline hydrolysis, and just kind of the trade name is Acclamation. And about probably 10, 20 years ago, it started to became used at more institutional places, teaching hospitals, the Mayo Clinic, and really for the disposition of cadavers. Okay. And then about 10 years ago, it was introduced into the pet industry. And the best way to think about it is sort of, when you bury a body, it decomposes, pretty easily. So it interacts with the alkali in the soil, moisture, microbes. All three of those create heat, like, a compost pile, if you've ever put your hand in a compost pile. And it's really then those four elements are natural decomposition. And so what Acclamation does is by concentrating those elements. So it's in water. So the pets are actually in water as opposed to fire. And then with the use of a small amount of alkali, and instead of microbes, the water circulates around the body. So it has a kind of a gentle circulation around the body. And that replaces the microbial activity. And then there's heat. And then that's it. And so instead of 20 years of it taking to decompose a body, it happens in 20 hours. So it's pretty remarkable. What's really interesting about it and why it's actually moving so quickly. I mean, think about it like this. We were probably the third, fourth, fifth company in the country to start this with pets. Okay. There are now 250 companies in 35 states.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's been legalized in, I think, 17 states, including mine in California, for humans.
Okay.
And again, it's the environmental aspect of this. It uses a 20th of the energy compared to cremation, a 10th of the carbon footprint. So, environmentally, it's really a different kind of game. We have a mid-sized company, and last year by my hospital switching over, we figure over 800,000 pounds of greenhouse gas going into the atmosphere, and we'll do over 1 million this year, and that's just us.
Right, so that's just your location, and your location covers how many areas or footprint? Like how many hospitals, or just Southern California, or what does it cover?
Well, we're just in Southern California. We cover about 60, 70 hospitals now, and pretty much in the Los Angeles area within around a 2-hour radius.
Okay, so that much geographical area, you're already saving that much in greenhouse gases, I guess is the point, right? Like you're not covering half the United States to make that happen. It's a relatively smaller area.
It's a small area, and we have plenty of competition here on top of that. So, I mean, that kind of compresses it even farther. I mean, obviously, there's a million vets out where we are, but no, it's really impactful.
With cremation, a pet owner will maybe receive a little box, cardboard box, with the remains of their pet. Is there any memory items like that with Acclamation, or?
Well, yeah, it actually, what the clients get back is the exact same thing. I mean, a lot of people, ash is a misnomer. I mean, you're not getting ash back from cremation. You're getting pulverized bones. So, once they come out of the ovens, then the bones are pulverized. And in Aquamation, it's the same thing. The bones are pulverized as well to give back to the client. The interesting thing about Aquamation is that because the collagen's degraded in alkaline hydrolysis, that the bones are softer. So when they're pulverized, they actually come out like beach sand. And we've actually, discussed this with clients and kind of tested it. It's a whole different feeling than kind of the grizzly remains we're accustomed to, and beach sand. There's something that's sort of more calming about it. But it's really true. It's really, we find that all the time.
Right. But now they still have something, if they wish, to memorialize their fur baby, right?
Sure.
Like in that grief process afterwards, that is a component for many people, and they don't lose that component with Acclamation.
No, not at all. Not at all. In fact, I mean, I kind of look at it that it really almost helps that moment a bit, again, because it's not so grisly. So you have that kind of, for the percentage of people that actually want to, disperse the remains. We find too that a lot of people, just a water-based process as opposed to a fire-based process is a big deal. And also what people really respond to is this is really just recreating nature. I mean, fire, cremation isn't really nature. I mean, unless you get struck by a bolt of lightning. I mean, but, other than that, that's something that we, humans, design. But so that's another aspect. I mean, all these things I think are what's driving its popularity. It feels like it's gentler, on your pet. The celebration of it afterwards is a little bit easier just because of what you have. And then overriding all of that is that, you're contributing. You're contributing back by, doing something environmentally responsible. So.
Right. The cycle of life is more intact, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, that's why it's going to move forward with, humans, or it is moving forward with humans too, because, that's obviously a concern, with us. When all the publicity around, when California legalized this, so it hit the national news, it was everywhere. And, if somebody wanted to go back and search, I mean, there's some great magazine articles sort of comparing cremation and Acclamation. And, after that, I changed my directives because I want to be acclimated. That's the deal. It's far more civilized, far more, obviously green. It just seems like a more peaceful, better way to go.
And you directly engage with the veterinary hospitals. Like you said, you have your client base of veterinary hospitals around your area. So, for the veterinarian, it's probably just the same as working with a cremation service, right? Like you guys still come and pick up the pets and you do all that sort of work for the hospital.
It's the exact same, Kelly. I mean, there's really no difference. When we started, part of the premise was, like I said, was, okay, this is a green technology that really is worth something. But the history of green is that early adopters go green, and then it becomes very price driven.
Right.
And even today, I mean, it's still to a large measure price driven. People love to be green as long as the price is the same.
Right.
Which it is, by the way, between Acclamation and cremation. I lost my train of thought there.
That's okay. That happens. We were talking about how, for the forward-facing pet owner, it would be the same interactions with the veterinary hospital and things like that. And then the veterinary hospital, their engagement with you is the services are the same as the cremation. So really the processes of how this all works hasn't really changed. It's the final disposition of the remains that has changed in the process, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, and actually, I do remember what I was going to say there. The premise of just being green, for us wasn't going to be enough. We knew that, or assumed that, as has happened, that this technology would take off. It's just too good not to, and that's a pretty substantial growth across the country, in these 6 or 7 years. So what we did was really take a look at this industry, which is kind of an archaic industry, and part of the reason why is it's just, vets never paid a lot of attention to this because it's kind of outsourced. It's a little bit far from, away from them. It's about death. They're about living. And so what I think happened, across 20 years, I mean, even in my lifetime, the attitude towards pets has completely changed. Um, they're much more a part of the family, or are a part of the family, now. And so I think that, that kind of recognition became sort of part of what we wanted to bring to the table, that, this isn't just about disposal. I mean, it's the old tickets from cremation companies, it's disposal. Well, it's not disposal. It's a family member that we're taking care of. It's aftercare. And I think it's a really important distinction, and we see it daily on our interactions with clients. And I think that, the cremation companies never really recognized that because they never really had to, over the past, 10 years. They just didn't recognize that the client base has changed, and these things are important. And then if you take that a little bit farther, not just from sort of a humankind position, but then you take it forward on a business proposition, what happens is, well, these are marketing moments, as well.
Right,
I mean,
right.
Right? I mean, aftercare and euthanasia are statistically and unarguably the number one most impactful moment you have with a client. So why not treat this in a way that's going to maximize that moment? I mean, it's kind of a win-win. You make the client feel better. You keep, you don't have 20% attrition, of people leaving after they've euthanized their animals. You have everybody come back. It's just a win-win for everybody by just acknowledging that, hey, this says clients have changed. This is what they want.
Right, and it is, and also, as I told you before the show, the very first site I ever built was grieving.com back in 1997. So it's been around 23 years now. Just the way people have been socialized to grief, and also how they treat relationships has been coming up to a little bit beforehand, because in the past, if your fur baby died and it was a dog, right? Other people may be like, oh, it's just a dog. I don't know why you're all upset because it was a dog or it was a cat. And I didn't realize that maybe that relationship the human being had with that animal was stronger and more pure and unconditional love than they had with a family member, right? So I think it's becoming a little bit more knowledge too, that it's okay to grieve this relationship loss than in 23 years ago when it was underground. It was still there, but it was a little bit more buried.
Right. Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, and there's these great studies. I read this great British study. I mean, really bona fide scientific studies that show that, or have proven that people grieve, as you say, more deeply for their pets than their family members.
Right. And it's based on that relationship. I mean, maybe mom was really crappy to you, and you have a really contentious relationship where all that dog gave you was unconditional love. Well, where's the bond stronger, right? So there's that. So Acclamation, look into it. It's a great process of, I won't even say process, I want to say option in the grief journey when people are deciding that option. I would also suggest to people, if they're getting to the point of their pet crossing the rainbow bridge, that they start looking into options before the moment happens, because we're never our best at that time. We're pure emotion and zero thought. So I would suggest that people look up Acclamation if they're in your area, to look you up, and just start thinking about it ahead of time, not at the time. So
it's great advice.
Yeah, because we don't want to deal with it, but in a way, not dealing with it makes it worse, not better.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Jerry. We really appreciated the insight today.
No, well, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. We'll see you soon.
All right. Take care, Kelly.